Welcome back to the Dean Obeidallah Show. Right now, very happy to have back on U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders, representing the beautiful state of Vermont, chair of the Senate Committee on Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions, serves on Budget Committee and more. Senator Sanders, good to see you.
Good to be with you, Dean.
One thing, first of all, can I applaud your 32-hour work week?
You can, absolutely. I'm open to applause, standing ovation, the whole thing.
The whole thing. And I'm going to patch you in the head of SiriusXM right now so you can talk to the president. And can we break that down? But look, I know people make jokes or don't think it's seriously, but when I was reading a proposal, I mean, the 40-hour work week comes from the 1940 Fair Labor Standards Act. People are more efficient. Isn't that the point? Like,
that's exactly. Look, there are a couple of points here, simple points. The 40-hour work week was established in 1944. Mm-hmm. What do you think, Dean? Has the economy changed a little bit over the years?
Yep.
All right. The truth, of course, is that working people, as a result of greatly expanded technology, are far, far more productive than they used to be the case, right?
Right.
Everybody knows that. And yet what we have seen over the years is the gains from that productivity have not gone to workers. Real inflation accounted for wages today is lower than it was 50 years ago. Where did all of that gains from productivity go? It went to the people on top. So we have seen a massive transfer of wealth from working people to the 1%, many, many, many trillions of dollars. So what I'm saying right now, especially as we begin this revolution in artificial intelligence and robotics, probably next year I'll be talking to a robot. Watch your jaw
right
there, Dean.
Right, AI Dean might be here. We could all be replaced. But you're right, we are becoming more efficient, and that's important. Now, I know there was pushback on the idea. Does it have a chance? Do you think there's...
Not right now, not in this Congress is dominated by big money. But I think what really did surprise me, I got around the country and, there was huge response to the idea because people understand that as the economy changes, working people should benefit from the gains in technology, not just the 1%. And I'll tell you something else, Dean. In my view, many people in this country are simply exhausted. COVID did a number on us all. And you got in this nation right now, our people are working, I don't know if everybody knows this, we are working some of the longest hours of any industrialized nation. Are you aware of that?
It's I know from my own experience. Yes, I'm working.
No, but it's true. You go to countries in Europe, they get 6 weeks off, paid vacation, they get paid, family leave and all that stuff, sick leave that we don't have. So our people are tired. They're working long hours. They're under a lot of stress. And I think the idea of gaining a little bit more sanity by having time to spend with your family, your kids, maybe, getting some culture and do whatever you want to do. But I think there's a lot of support for the idea.
No, and I saw in your proposal in the press release about France has a 35-hour work week, Norway, Denmark, 37-hour work week. Today, even 40-hour work week seems almost not real, and that people work so many more hours than that. And we all feel like we have to work. You don't want to take all your vacation because you're afraid something's going to happen. You won't get a raise or you get replaced.
And people have their bloody phones with them wherever they go, right?
Exactly.
And they work Saturdays and Sundays. I shouldn't say that. My staff is here. They know that I call them on Saturdays and Sundays. But
they talk to me. They wanted me to raise a 32-hour work week for them.
Not for the rest of the country, not for my staff.
There's something else that, you're dealing with prescription drug prices, Ozempic and others, high prices. But look at, President Biden talks about inflation. And I talk to members of Congress all the time. I ask them, what's a big issue in the district? And they go, higher prices. When you look at it, it's greedflation that is going on. Coca-Cola just had good earnings because they raised their prices, not because supplies went up. Their profit margins getting bigger and bigger. People are suffering because of that. And Democrats, or President Biden specifically, is feeling a backlash. Should President Biden talk about greedflation? And it's not about supply chains anymore. This is just greed, making more money.
Exactly right. I mean, I think there was a time maybe some years ago, during COVID, when, in the war in Ukraine and the supply chains had an impact. It did. Mm-hmm. But I think what economists now understand that prices are rising at exactly the same time as corporations are making record-breaking profits. So you're looking at incredible greed. You go to the grocery store, prices are high. Check out what the profit margins are of the food industry. You go to the gas pump, find out how ExxonMobil and the other oil companies are doing, and that's across the board. Drug companies charging very high prices, they're making record-breaking profits in many instances.
So how do we change things? I mean, when especially we speak to younger people who look at the system and they want to change things, and I don't want them to give up. I want them to continue the fight after both of us, like to continue on, that you can change things, because big money in politics.
Well, talk for yourself.
So
you're old and I'm young, and that's it.
Right. I mean, both of us, like I'm saying, look, it's life. We understand the circle of life. We've seen the cartoon with the Lion King. I understand how this all works. But the point is, what should there be hope that one day we can take big money out of politics, or will that take a new Supreme Court to overturn Citizens United? Will that take a constitutional amendment?
Change never happens overnight. And, I know that a lot of folks that I've talked to them, I went to a demonstration on Saturday, today's Monday, and nothing has changed.
Right.
Well, I got news for you. Women's rights didn't change overnight. Civil rights didn't change overnight. Gay rights didn't change overnight. You talk to workers who got beaten up, sometimes killed, fighting to form unions back in the 30s. Change doesn't take place easily. And especially, Dean, when you're talking about economic change, the reality is that right now, the economy is doing great for the people on top. They love it the way it is. You just mentioned record-breaking corporate profits, massive income and wealth inequality, rich are getting phenomenally rich. What's the problem? They got it, they want it. And now they also not only control the economy and much of the media, they also control our political system. And because of this disastrous Citizens United Supreme Court decision, unbelievably, they could spend as much money as you want. You're a billionaire, you could spend hundreds of millions of dollars defeating candidates you don't like. So what I would say to people is, look, the stakes are enormous in terms of what we're fighting for. We're literally fighting to preserve American democracy and the right of ordinary people, not billionaires, to control their future. We're talking about women's rights, the right of women to control their own body. We're talking about what kind of planet our children and grandchildren will be living in. Donald Trump does not believe that climate change is real, does not believe that women have a right to control their own body, does not happen to believe in democracy. So you don't like Joe Biden? Fine, I got it. I have very strong disagreements with him on Gaza and other issues. But I think the choice is pretty clear.
I agree 100%. And the idea that I could be disappointed on one issue, but I'm part of a community of various other communities. We intersect. We're here for each other. It can't be, if you don't give me what I want on my issue, I'm walking, because there's too many other communities that would be hurt by that. And that's why we have to defeat Donald Trump. When he's awake, I'm not even kidding. Like he fell asleep again today at his trial. And there's a point where it's not funny. There's a point where it actually becomes like a real issue. And at some point, the corporate media maybe would ask the tough questions like, why is he falling asleep all the time when he didn't fall asleep 4 years ago at events? But maybe that's asking too much of the corporate media, which continues to disappoint me. Maybe that's the corporation. So,
well, that's why you exist and why you're doing a good job. We need
thank you, Senator. I'm trying my best. I'm Senator Bernie Sanders. You mentioned Gaza. We talked before about it. You voted against giving $8.9 billion, as you put, an unfettered offensive military aid to the Netanyahu administration. They're still going to get the aid. I appreciate you voting against it. I don't know how someone can give money without agreeing to certain conditions, considering how they've used our weapons. It's not like we didn't know what they were going to do. We've seen it play out over 6 months. Was there any more appetite for conditions at all in the Senate? Or
there is. Look, Dean, I wish I could give you, some kind of brilliant, insightful answer. I can't.
Right.
I don't understand why only 3 of us voted, and was not, I support aid to Ukraine and humanitarian aid, of course, but 3 of us voted specifically because what Netanyahu is doing right now is creating the worst humanitarian disaster, in the modern history of this country. And I don't have to go through all the details. I think people
Mhm.
understand that you have over 5% of the population of Gaza has either been killed or wounded, 2/3 of whom are women. Infrastructure demolished, virtually no electricity, no clean water. Educational system, every university has been bombed. Healthcare system, almost every hospital has been destroyed. It is a systematic destruction of Gaza with the goal, I think, of making it impossible for the Palestinian people to live there in the future. I suspect that's what some of the people in the Netanyahu government want. So, to me, it is clear that Israel is violating international law, violating American law, and I don't know why anybody would give them billions of dollars more to continue that war.
And I saw you put a video out, which I shared with people. I thought it was a great video responding to Netanyahu saying somehow criticism of his policies, you should equate that with anti-Semitism. And I just love you to share a little bit about your point of view.
And thanks for asking that, because I'm Jewish, that.
Right.
And so I feel very strongly. Anti-Semitism, I don't have to explain to anybody, is a vile and disgusting ideology. My father's family was wiped out by Hitler. So, count me in as somebody who will do everything I can to fight anti-Semitism. But what Netanyahu has done is very, to me, really devious. What he is saying is, yeah, I've killed, 33,000 Palestinians, 2/3 of whom are women and children. But you criticize me? That's anti-Semitic, Or, we are created a situation where we block humanitarian aid from coming in. Hundreds of thousands of children face starvation. You criticize me? You're anti-Semitic. So are there anti-Semites out there? Are there people saying really stupid things on college campuses? Absolutely. But I think the overwhelming majority of the American people and people who are protesting on campuses right now are there because they strongly oppose this disastrous and horrific war that Netanyahu is waging against the Palestinian people.
I agree with you.
That is not anti-Semitic.
Right.
Any more than if you criticize the Italian government or the Irish government, you're anti-Irish or anti-Italian.
I'm Muslim. I criticize the Saudi government. Everyone can criticize the Saudi. I encourage you to criticize the Saudi government. I would never call you anti-Muslim. And to the point about anti-Semitism, I mean, I've said this on MSNBC twice over the weekend. If you're an anti-Semite, don't get on the side of Palestinians. We don't want you on our behalf. Go hang out with the bigots. That's what you deserve. We are for humanity. For humanity, for the Palestinian and the Israeli people. It should be not human. This is not a sporting event. I hate when the media asks questions. Do you sympathize more with Palestinians or Israelis? How about they're both humans? How about you try to find a place that be security for both the Palestinian mothers and Israeli mothers so they don't have to worry about their children going outside and being killed by a militant or a missile? That's what we have to get to. And the struggle of this cheerleading, we even see members of Congress, some Democrats who break my heart a little bit, sucking up into this. It's not helpful in the long run.
Dean, and thank you for saying what you did, because you're exactly right. Hamas is a terrorist organization that started this war. End of discussion. Israel has a right to defend itself. End of discussion. But they don't have the right to do what they're doing. And to comment on that, on the horrific damage being done to the Palestinian people, is not anti-Semitic, in my view, period.
I'm chatting with Bernie Sanders. Last couple of things. One, I want to touch on the Solar for All legislation, that $7 billion investment. It's going to help Americans. This is really helpful. This is something that's going to change people's lives, create jobs, make efficiency for people's homes. Can you share a little bit about it, please, Senator?
Sure. This is a number of years ago, my wife and I installed solar on our rooftop in Burlington. You know what our electric bill, how much it went down? Went down by over 80%.
Wow.
All right. Yeah, and that's the way it is. That's what happens. People who install solar, depending on where you are and the size of your house, everything else, can see, 70, 80, 90% reduction in your electric bill. That's the good news. But to install that solar costs money. Now, if you got money, you get a tax credit, federal tax credit, that helps. But it's a fairly expensive proposition. I think we spent 15 or 16,000. In the long run, you obviously save money. The investment pays for itself through lower electric bills. Problem is, if you're a working class person, you can't come up with that $15,000 or $16,000 to lower your electric bill. So what the Solar for All program that I wrote does, and strongly supported by Biden, what it does is through loans and grants, helps low-income and working class families afford the initial investment on solar panels, which in the long run will save them money, will create jobs, and will obviously cut carbon emissions and protect the planet.
And if somebody hears this interview and wants to apply for this kind of grant or aid, where can they go to?
Well, they can call our office up, but it'll be administered state by state. Each state
Okay.
will do it a little bit differently, but this is going to go, the money is going to the states.
Oh, that's good. That's great. I didn't know. And I just want to turn the last couple minutes here, the 2024 election. You had posted on X now, was Twitter. Republicans are working to defund and destroy Social Security and Medicare. And I think that people don't get that. If Republicans get control, they are going to go for the entitlement programs. Donald Trump even said it on CNBC. Of course, he says the opposite another time because he says he's on both sides of every issue. It really is remarkable. He literally is. But that we know the GOP has long had an appetite to go for these programs. What are your concerns if somehow Republicans control the House, Senate, and the White House?
Well, you don't have enough time on this program to go to my concerns. We'll have to go on many hours.
Okay, on Social Security and Medicare.
All right, but so look, this is an astounding fact. I did a hearing on the retirement needs of elderly people. I was stunned to hear this. This is the richest country on earth. 25% of seniors in America are trying to get by on $15,000 or less. How's that? And 50% are getting by on $30,000 or less. And I don't know how people do that. So the idea that you would cut Social Security benefits or raise the retirement age is exactly the wrong thing to do. And there is this problem, Dean, of the solvency of Social Security. There is a very simple, popular solution. Right now, somebody makes $16 million a year. You make $160,000 a year. You know what? Who pays more into the Social Security Trust Fund? You pay the same because there's a cap on the taxation for Social Security Trust Fund. You lift that cap so that millionaires start paying the 6% of their entire income. You will extend the life of Social Security solvency by 75 years and significantly increase benefits. How's that?
It's great.
That's
And I'm sure that's vastly popular, but it doesn't
It
happen.
is.
And
It
it
is.
doesn't happen because Republicans are able to block it. Is that the bottom
That's
line?
right. Yeah, look, and this is an example of, at a time of massive income and wealth inequality, do we save Social Security? Do we increase benefits by asking the people on top to pay a little bit more in taxes? I think we do. The American people think we do. Republicans think we don't.
I agree. Well, Senator Sanders, it's always great chatting with you, my friend. Thank you for making some time and doing the work that you do and continuing to be sincere and inspiring all of us. So inspiring me, I could say that. I think a lot of people as well, not just me. But thanks, Senator. Have a great day.
You keep up the great work, Dean. Your voice, progressive voices are needed now.